For game week 21 of FPL, we are going to be looking at the fixture runs, the best players to buy, and my team going into the next game week. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. Guys, there have been so many deadlines back to back it seems, and I'm going to miss these deadlines because there's going to be a week and a half, nearly 2 weeks from now until the game week 22 deadline, which is a shame because I love FPL, well, when I'm doing well, that is. You know, when I'm not doing well, I kind of hate FPL. Sometimes it ruins my weekend, but in game week 20, I had a good week, so I'm feeling good. Anyway, let's start with the fixture difficulty rating. It's a weird one. There's no teams with absolutely god-awful fixture runs, no teams with absolutely amazing fixture runs. A lot of teams sort of hanging around in the middle. We'll start at the bottom looking at Leeds. On the whole, it's not awful. They've got a couple good games in there, but there's just too many bad ones floating around, so they're the worst in my opinion. The Liverpool fixture run isn't awful, like they have home to Burnley in a couple game weeks time, which is amazing, and the fixtures that follow don't look great, but for an attacker, it's not bad. The main reason they're so low is because they're playing away to Arsenal, which is an awful entry point. Then we look at Brentford. The next 3 games ain't bad. Home to Sunderland and home to Forest is really good for the likes of Schade and Thiago. The issue is in the next 6, they have 4 really tough games, so even though the entry point for Thiago is great, in general, I think Brentford are a team you should avoid players from. If you have people like Thiago and Schade and their defenders, great, hold them for the next few game weeks, but they're not really a team you should invest in, despite Thiago's recent hat-trick. Then we have Brighton, similar to Liverpool. Fixtures aren't great, they're not awful, they're alright, but their entry point is so difficult. Away to Man City is a game you don't want to bring in players for. Then we get into the slightly better runs now. Wolves, it's not awful. They've only really got one super tough game, which is where they play away to Man City. And it's similar for Aston Villa, except their tough game is playing away to Newcastle, which isn't as bad. But then again, their entry point playing away to Crystal Palace isn't great either. Not a fixture one you'd look to target, but their assets, in particular Ollie Watkins, look quite good. Fulham on the whole, I don't think is that bad. Like, there's not a single hard game until game week 26, so the likes of Raul Jimenez and Harry Wilson are really good to own. With Burnley, there's no point talking about them because there's no good assets from Burnley. Then you look towards Man United. Away to Burnley is a great fixture. And then they play 2 really tough games, home to Man City and away to Arsenal. But after that, when AFCON finishes, their fixture runs gets very good. So around game week 24 time, you'd be looking at Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes as 2 amazing players to own. But after this Burnley game, you probably want to sell your Man United players. Most of us only own Cunha and maybe Dorgu as well. This is sort of the last week before you want to get rid of them. I own Cunha, I might hold him, but I definitely wouldn't be looking to bring him in. Then we have Nottingham Forest, not great, but it's not awful. It's just that Arsenal fixture kind of stinks out of the gaff, and Forest don't look great at the moment. Crystal Palace and Arsenal have very similar fixture runs. No real hard games in there, but not a lot of really good games. For Arsenal, it doesn't really matter too much. I'd like to own 3 Arsenal players, even on the hardest of fixture runs, because their defence is so good, and they have players like Declan Rice who can get returns in any fixture. Whereas Crystal Palace have a few key players injured and they don't look great right now. Sunderland are a weird one. They're last for expected goals in the Premier League, but they somehow keep getting results. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but fair play Sunderland, keep doing your thing. Spurs, short term, have a really good fixture run. You could bring in players short term and then sell them around game week 24. It's the same for Newcastle as well. If you bring in a Newcastle player, you'd only be owning them for the next 3 game weeks, unless you bring them in this game week and they do so well that you just cannot sell them because their form is so good. Then we look to Man City and Chelsea. This is where the fixture runs get really, really good, you know, medium to long term. Man City have so many good assets. We're going to talk about them later when I talk about the transfer targets, the players to buy. Chelsea are a weird team. They're managerless. It was a shock Maresca left in the new year, 2026. Chelsea don't have a manager right now. It wasn't him getting sacked. It was more of a resignation, which I find quite weird. Going into this next run of games, it's not immediately great. They've got a few grey fixtures, but then in game week 24, it gets really good. Cole Palmer is an obvious outlier, but we don't know for sure who's going to be the best because rotation is a thing and the new manager could have his own ideas. Then we get to Everton. Apart from that Aston Villa game, their fixture run is insane. Home to Wolves is the perfect entry point. Then we have the likes of Bournemouth and West Ham, and I believe these are the 2 teams to target. They look amazing. Well, let me rephrase that. I was going to say they look amazing. They don't. The fixture runs look amazing. Bournemouth and West Ham themselves don't look great. Bournemouth are on awful form and West Ham just lost 3-0 to Wolves. But that doesn't change the fact Bowen is a great player to own. Don't let that put you off all West Ham players. it should put you off every single West Ham player aside from Jared Bowen. This fixture run is too good to ignore. Then we look to Bournemouth. You know, there's some good assets Bournemouth have, and their fixture run is good medium to long term. There's not loads of green fixtures there, but there's no hard ones in sight anytime soon. On to the players to buy now, guys. In 5th place, we have Thiaw from Newcastle. Now, I actually put him in this video. I edited him in before he scored that goal, and he's not here for his goal-scoring prowess. He is here for the clean sheet potential. And to be honest, Newcastle don't have a lot of it. That's why I only rate him a 5 out of 10. But short term, home to Leeds, away to Wolves and home to Aston Villa are 3 clean sheet potential games before you would sell him. And he gets DEFCONs, he knows how to score. So definitely the best Newcastle defender to target. Gvardiol's underlying data going forward looked insane, guys. Ridiculous for a defender, okay? I don't understand it. His DEFCONs don't look awful. And obviously playing for that Man City defence, it's pretty good. Yeah. I did not expect Gvardiol's expected goal involvements to be this high at all. It's not going to last forever, but he's been keeping it up across the last 8 game weeks. We look at these defenders and their data across the last 8 game weeks, and we look at midfielders and forwards across the last 4 because it's more reliable that way. And Gvardiol, while he's not the most amazing defender you should transfer in, I do believe he is one of the best, but the 3 above him are a lot better. Starting with Tarkowski, despite conceding 4 goals home to Brentford, which is insane, and their defensive data, you know, expected goals conceded and expected clean sheets not looking great, I do believe he's a great defender to target. Obviously, DEFCONs are almost guaranteed. Home to Wolves is also a great entry point, like I said, and he can always bang a goal from a corner. And even though the underlying data defensively isn't great, like I already said, they can still keep clean sheets as the actual output shows. Then in the top 2 spots, no one is surprised to see the Arsenal defence. Even though on recent form they're not great, they're only just getting their starting back 4 back after around 7 to 8 game weeks. And like I said, we look at data across the last 7 to 8 game weeks. Arsenal don't have a hard fixture in sight, and their defence is miles ahead of every other team in the league. It may not seem it, but the data does not lie. They are ridiculously strong, and I believe they will keep a lot of clean sheets. And because Arsenal rely on set pieces so much, Timber and Gabriel have every chance of getting decent goal involvements. Gabriel's played less than 200 minutes, so we can't look at his individual stats reliably, but we know he scored 2 goals in the 2 games he's returned. It's unreal. And Timber, his expected goal involvements for a defender are still really strong. Not on the level of Gvardiol's. At the moment, no one's is, but Timber's is still very high. So double Arsenal defence is great, preferably Timber and Gabriel. The likes of Saliba and Raya aren't really worth that 6 million price tag. Going into the midfielders now, there's not as much of a spread in these scores I'm giving these ratings. It's 7 or 8s really, mostly 8s all around. All these options are quite good. Last when we looked at the defenders, I rated Gabriel a 10, but that's because he is an absolute priority. All of these guys are great to own, but you don't need to sell, you know, all your players to bring them in. Starting off with Harry Wilson. I mentioned the Fulham fixture run earlier, it was quite good. And Harry Wilson has got decent underlying data. He scored last game week in a tough fixture, so he's a good player to own. Like I said, he's all right. He's very cheap, definitely worth that 6 million price tag. Slightly more expensive than him, we have Ryan Cherki, and his creative potential, his creative output, expected assists and big chances created is the most I've seen in a while of any Premier League player. For FPL, that is huge. It's looking like he's getting an assist almost every single game week. It's insane to see, and that Man City fixture run is good. Cherki, despite being a rotation risk in earlier games this season, is looking fairly reliable for minutes. I'm not going to guarantee you he starts every week. You know, he's not. Let's be honest. Pep is a funny man. He has a way of doing things to annoy you when you play FPL. And, you know, knowing Cherki, when he plays that home to West Ham fixture in 4 game weeks' time, that's the one game he'll miss. You know, the best game week coming up anytime soon. Either way, in them tougher games like Bournemouth and Man United and Brighton, he can still come away with some assists. And as he showed a couple game weeks ago, he can score goals as well. Cole Palmer is a weird one, very expensive. I do believe he is better than Saka. You know, I can only really compare him to Saka because they're the only 2 that are a similar price. Palmer just seems more reliable for getting penalties. You know, Saka doesn't take every penalty. Chelsea just seem a lot better going forward. It's like, you know, Chelsea attackers are the ones who score the goals. It's not like Arsenal where you see them win a game and it's always CDMs and centre-backs and full-backs scoring. Saka always seems to average, you know, 5-6 points a game, which sure, it's great. But for a player costing 10 million, you need to have some captaincy potential there. And I don't think Bukayo Saka has it, whereas Cole Palmer does. And like I said, that Chelsea fixture run is going to get very good. So if you're looking for Cole Palmer, you want to get on him early, and the time is now. Then going into these top 2 players, we're going to look at Semenyo first of all. A lot of people have just sold Semenyo. Fair enough, he played Arsenal. Very tough fixture. But Semenyo's been on good form. And while his underlying data isn't great, it's not bad in any area whatsoever. It's the first time I've done a video like this, and there's been no green or red ratings on the underlying data, which is quite weird to see. Doesn't really appeal to my eyes, but Home to Tottenham is a great entry point, and he does have some fairly easy games further down the line as well. Like I said, Bournemouth have one of the best fixture runs in the league, and Semenyo is their best player to target without a doubt. In the number 1 spot, we have Declan Rice coming off a 17-pointer, which I owned him for, which absolutely made my game week. I've been big on Declan Rice even before that 17-pointer, and I'll tell you why. You can set and forget him in your team anytime you want, even through the hardest fixture runs. He's Arsenal's set piece man, and Arsenal love a set piece. They score so many of them. Declan Rice is on the free kicks and the corners. His def cons are also really good as well. So in a tough game, you're still seeing like 4 or 5 points, and in a good game, like he's shown, he's getting double-digit hauls because he can bag a goal and he can get many assists. So many avenues to go down to get points, really underpriced, really good value. Going into the forwards now, it's not really the most amazing week to make forward transfers. Obviously, we all own Haaland, and that frees up 1 or 2 forward spots, and I do believe Ekitike, while he's not on this list, should be held in your teams. Despite missing game week 20, it was just a minor fitness issue, and despite playing away to Arsenal in game week 21, this next upcoming game week, he plays home to Burnley in game week 22, which isn't really what you want to sell a player for. The only player I would be eager to bring in aside from Ekitike is Jarrod Bowen. You know, Jarrod Bowen is such a good player to own, even though he didn't do anything against Wolves. He's coming onto that good fixture run we've talked about, and he's on good form already. Say he's on good form. He scored 1 goal in the last 3. It's not bad, but it's not amazing. For a West Ham player, it's sort of what you'd expect. You do need to keep that in mind, be realistic about it, but I do believe aside from Haaland, he is probably the best forward to own. He's the only player I would consider selling Ekitike for. The rest on this list, I would not. I've just realised I've started at the top of the list instead of the bottom. We've already talked about Jarrod Bowen. Let's go from top to bottom this time. Watkins next, the only other decent forward I would actually recommend. The fixture one isn't awful, but it's not amazing. And Watkins is on good form. The underlying data speaks for itself. It looks ridiculous. This is the Ollie Watkins we all knew and loved about, 1.5 to 2 years ago, where he was getting the assists from absolutely nothing, getting very lucky, and getting big expected goals and putting them away. It's nice to see him doing it again, even though he's not doing it for my team. He did get me a lot of green arrows. So, I do appreciate a Watkins haul every now and then. It's going to be tough to bring him in because he plays away to Crystal Palace, and the Crystal Palace defence is decent. So, like I said, I wouldn't be eager to bring in Watkins, especially if you had to sell Ekitike for him, but he's a good player to own. He's on good form. Then we look at the other 3 forwards. They all have issues. For example, Wissa, a rotation risk, but he does look to be the favourite. Raul Jimenez, his fixture run is good, but at the end of the day, he is not a world-class finisher and he's cheap for a reason. Then we have Mateta, who has big pedigree. He's a great Premier League footballer in general, but recently he's been off the ball, he's not been finishing the big chances, and he's been on bad form. So all 3 of these forwards, I wouldn't especially recommend you to buy. They're just big-time differentials. But with that being said, Watkins and Bowen are still differentials, so it's not like you need to go extra out your way to bring in a low-end player when you can bring in the likes of Watkins and Bowen. These other 3 below them aren't really worth going for, but the data is here on the screen, guys. If you look at it and you like it and you believe in it, then fair enough. Like Raul Jimenez, for example, the fixture run isn't bad and the underlying data is amazing. A player who is also on penalties, so it's fairly decent. And Wissa, like I said, good short-term fixture run. Underlying data looks good. Looks to be the favourite of a Voltamada, but here's a rotation risk. So all these 5 out of 10 transfers I personally wouldn't recommend. Now we go into my team for game week 21 of FPL, and it looks pretty good aside from Ekitike away to Arsenal. I like the look of it. John Victor, the Nottingham Forest keeper, has a decent fixture away to West Ham. He did come off injured after making an awful mistake against Aston Villa last game week. I don't know if this means he's going to be dropped for Sells, considering he only just took the spot of Sells. I'm not 100% sure. I did bring him in to rotate with Verbruggen because the keeper rotation was really strong. But now he's made that mistake. I'm not sure if he's going to get dropped again or not. So I may have to play Verbruggen away to Man City, but I really hope not. Double Liverpool defence, I'm really happy with it. Despite Liverpool being on good form, Arsenal are so good at defending, and in any game week they play, even away to Man City, they have a chance of a clean sheet. And home to Liverpool, I'm quite optimistic. The reason I want to play Ekitike is because if Liverpool do lose the clean sheet, I'm hoping it's Ekitike that takes it away, and then I won't mind too much. The rest of the team is decent. A few low-end players here, like I don't own a very template team right now. Schade been good to me recently. Vandenberg, also playing for Brentford, has missed the last couple game weeks through injury, but he's now back. He's now unflagged. He's been on the bench for the last 2 game weeks. He's not even come on as a sub, which makes me think he may have missed his starting spot as a Brentford centre-back, and if he's left on the bench home to Sunderland, I'm going to be gutted because that is the best fixture he has. Playing against team last for expected goals in the Premier League, lower expected goals than Wolves and Burnley. If he misses that out, I'm going to be really gutted, but I will have bench cover in Romero away to Bournemouth, which, don't get me wrong, is a lot worse, but I don't really want to make a transfer going from Vandenberg to either Collins or Aya, not knowing who's actually going to start, because Vandenberg could start. He was the first choice for the entire season until he picked up a knock. And now he's back and he's getting into the swing of things. I'd be surprised if he didn't start again. Like, I'm expecting him to start, but there's a chance he may not, and that would really upset me if Brentford keep a clean sheet. But the game's the game. FPL is full of twists and turns, good luck and bad luck. And to be honest, I've been on the receiving end of a lot of good luck, a bit of bad luck, but mostly good luck. Like last game week, I did really well. Earlier on in the season, I went from 4k overall to around 30k. This game week, I was 28k, my all-time low for a long while. But I've moved myself back up to around the top 10k in just one game week, which is a huge boost I need because I really want to aim to finish in the top 5k this season. Considering I was at the top 5k rank before I even got halfway into the season, I wouldn't like to drop below that come the end of the season because it would have just means I blundered a really good rank. I would have been the Arsenal of FPL managers, which is not the rep I want. So hopefully I can push my way back into the top 5k. Anyway guys, that is it from me. If you made it this far, you are greatly appreciated. Let me know down in the comments if there's any transfer plans you guys have, and I will respond to your comment if I have the time, which hopefully I will. Anyway, I will see you all in the next video.